My first Rapala experience had to be a countdown minnow in a trout pattern, and I would say I was probably 5, 6, something like that. Somewhere right in that age range, catching trout and whitefish, I think on the Clark Fork River. My whole family fishes, but a guy by the name of Jeremy Tripp is the guy who got me started bass fishing. Took me out when I was 8 years old, and I was hooked from 8 years old. Decided I wanted to fish as a professional, and never turned back. My favorite fishing memory probably have to be the first time I went out on a bass boat. I can remember the nose coming up and it seemed like it stood straight up in the air. And I can still remember the same bush that I caught my first bass off of. You know, I'd caught bass before, but not actually fishing for them. And that bush still sits there, and I can still go back and catch fish on that bush that I caught my very first bass on. I think it's the fact that it's always changing. You know, it's never the same, whether it's just the fishing industry as a whole, you know, baits and different hard baits, soft baits coming out that are changing, and just the water's changing, the fish are changing, so it's never the same. You know, I get bored easy with things that are monotonous, and fishing's never been that way. I'd have to say it would be a Rapala DT4, and that's one of the baits that I grew up bass fishing with. I've won a lot of money on it at home and around the entire country, so that's probably just one that I've got the most confidence in. I'd made money fishing with the guy Jeremy before, but when I was 14, I split off on my own and fished out of a 16-foot bass tracker, and we signed up for an adult tournament, me and my buddy, and I can remember I was throwing a Terminator T2 spinnerbait, and it had double Colorados on it and a chartreuse and white spinnerbait or skirt, and I added a little bit of red to it, and we're going down this pad line, and I hook into one, and it's a 6.5 pounder, and I get it in the boat, and that was the only fish we caught all day. And I was all bummed out. You know, fishing was tough, water temps were really cold, and we get to the weigh-in, and I end up winning with this one fish, one 6.5 pounder that I caught on the spinnerbait, and the guy in second had 4 fish, but he only had 4.5 pounds, so I won big fish, and the entire tournament with that one fish on that Terminator spinnerbait. When I'm not fishing, I think about fishing. But when I'm not doing that, I'm usually either elk hunting, deer hunting, something like that. That's what I really like to do. Or if it's during the winter time, I like to go up on the mountain and go snowboarding. I grew up doing that. I actually competed snowboarding before I started competing in fishing tournaments. Being dead. I mean, I don't plan on really quitting. I mean, there's guys like Guy Eaker that fish till they're 72, and that's almost 50 years away from now. You know, it's crazy to think that you can do something for that long, but when you love what you do for work, that's possible. And so, I mean, I'd probably just kick back in a rocking chair and watch fishing shows. My biggest thing is join the Federation Nation. For me, that was the only way that I could make it through. And the learning curve there is so high because you get to fish with so many different people and you get to see so many different parts of the country that, you know, that learning curve is so much steeper and you learn so much quicker that I think that's the best way to get into the sport and really gain a lot of confidence and learn a lot to get you to that next level. consistency. You know, a lot of hard bait companies, it's hard to get a bait that you buy and will consistently run straight and, you know, be what you want it to be. A lot of times, you know, you'll buy a bait from a different company and it won't run straight. You can't get it to run straight because the plastic, something's messed up. But when you buy a Rapala bait, you know that when you pull it out of the box, it's going to run true every single time you pull it out. I mean, they're hand tuned, so you know that it's going to be the right thing. It's like it's a family, really, and you know, I feel very fortunate to be able to see that side of it that a lot of people don't get to see. You know, as far as such a large worldwide company, but everybody cares about each other, you know. So I mean, it means a lot to me to be a part of a company that's really legendary and innovative, you know, from the very beginning of the company until today, you know, standing here.